Hey, this was my mom's. This was my mom's from like my childhood.
Does she want it back?
Oh God, no.
I didn't even know we had one of those fancy ones. I always used the little one.
My mom, I remember this being in my kitchen when I was like 10 years old. And then I stole it. And then you guys stole it. I think it was part of the great divide of the house where nobody knew we'd lived together for so long that nobody knew like whose crap is this? Like whose random bottle opener is this?
You got some of our stuff. We got some of your stuff.
Can we turn these down a little bit?
Yeah. The headphones?
Yeah.
Thomas is on audio.
Which one are you? I think you're 2. Tell me if it's getting... Did it get way quieter?
Yeah, I can't hear it now.
What about that? Is that better?
You can go a little more.
Say something good.
Test.
I can hear. Yeah.
Test.
Well, you talk in it. You're the loud one.
Typically. Hello.
That's fine.
Cool.
Thank you.
But yeah, you guys got the bottle opener. I got Kevin's album from his boudoir shoot, and yeah, it was fair trade.
Fair trade, dude. This is one hell of a bottle opener.
I tell you what, one hell of a boudoir shoot. So it's a Jant's recommendation. What do we got?
Jant's recommendation on the line. Do you want to open it up, or do you want me to? All right,
you can do it.
One of you.
All right. We got all the stuff set up. Baby's taken care of. Dog's got a bone, distracted.
I got my Stanley shirt on just to represent, since I get to see Stanley for the first time in a while.
It has been a bit.
I got my Stango shirt on. But
we're going to sit and enjoy a little bit of wine together. The old roommates back together.
That's right.
Yeah. So to introduce the prettiest guests we've had so far. My wife and the one that runs a company keeps us
focused
and with job in general.
Right.
Alyssa Wilhite, formerly Alyssa Marconi.
Yeah. Look at that.
Alyssa Marconi still sounds more natural than Alyssa Wilhite.
Yeah. Wilhite's a little weird for me. Still getting used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's got to be a weird thing. Like, what a strange. Like, I know it's like what, the world has always done. I guess that's not true, but it's like, it is a super weird thing that like girls have to change their name. That seems like such a hassle. Yeah. I'm really happy I don't have to do that.
I still have stuff I haven't changed. It's been like 2 years. So
yeah.
Our Chipotle orders, anytime I pick them up, it's under Alyssa Marconi.
Yeah. And my credit cards and it's all.
Chipotle, let me tell you, the forms you got to fill out to change your name.
You got to jump through. They got to pay that person somehow. That's why they got the guacamole charge.
This thing got
I don't think it has a cutter.
The cutter?
Yeah,
not so fancy then.
I know. Cheap mom. Typical Cindy. I wonder where she got. I bet she stole it. I was just wondering that too. She probably stole it from somebody.
This thing is 300 years old.
How many hands has passed through? It is interesting. You'd think it'd have like one of those things. I think you could just honestly just like.
I think it might pop right through it.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think you can just. Oh, yeah. Don't mind us. Yeah. Yeah. How much of your time do you feel like? I don't feel like it's as bad. You don't have to make sure that Kevin and I are staying on task as much.
I thought you were going to do it wrong. I thought you were trying to hold the arms down or something.
No.
He's got this. We're watching.
Yeah.
Is that far enough? Probably.
There you go. I don't know why I'm making sound effects, but it seems right.
If they weren't watching the video, they might have thought that was an actual wine.
It was. Everybody knows.
We got it.
All right. I'm excited. That was a lot of pressure.
Yeah, you guys make me nervous.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any two people, it might be us.
Thank you.
Wow. What did you tell them that you were pairing this with? Did he ask?
We got this like 10 months ago, so I don't.
She's how it goes.
No, probably like a year ago at this point.
Yeah, because you said you got it
We
like prior to you being pregnant, right?
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Carrera?
It's very good. Wow, I like that a lot. I'm more of a white wine fan than I thought I ever would be.
Pinot Grigio.
I like it, like, and I've I've liked Chardonnays, which kind of surprised me because I always expected that I was going to like just like something that's not super dry. But not to say that Chardonnays, I guess, are overly dry, but it is. I was surprised at how much I'd like it. This all just reminded me of a meme I saw the other day that it said somebody the other day told me that cranberry juice feels like it doesn't want to be wet.
I saw you that.
I saw
Made
that.
me laugh out loud.
We both saw your name on that. I saw it and I was like, I'm going to send this to Thomas, but I looked and I saw your name.
Yeah. that's right. Yeah. Did you ever do that with Anthony?
Every once in a while.
I don't follow those pages.
He tries to call other people out on stuff, but yeah.
Anyway, if you're on Instagram and you come across something crazy,
Look for Anthony's name.
there's a chance that you'll see Anthony's name right underneath it.
That's where the name Moose comes from, isn't it?
That's right. That is where the name Moose comes from something he liked.
We'll wait till we have Anthony back on the podcast for him to tell that story.
He loves to tell that story.
Probably
So.
best.
He likes that his name is Moose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if we call him that all the time.
Yeah. I feel like he calls himself that more than
Talking to his girlfriend. Yeah, they call me the Moose. The context of this is funnier. This is probably not great content for anybody, but the context for us is funny.
this is maybe Ryan can cut this.
Nah. Alyssa, hello.
Hello.
How you feeling? This is super out of your element.
It feels a lot more podcasty than I thought. I thought it'd feel more natural.
It'll calm down. I think like the first little bit, it definitely feels. But I appreciate you doing this because I know this is not like your volunteer thing that you'd want to do. So I'm pumped that you're on. I'm excited to have you here. Here in your own house. I'm excited that you're here with us at your residence. Kevin said, "Screw Thomas in the picture, I guess."
Yep.
He's taking pictures of his wife.
Everybody, did they know you're always on the episodes?
I was sick once. That looked nice.
No.
Good. So, how have you been? Again, thanks for coming on.
Good. Busy.
Yeah, you had a baby.
A little overwhelmed, but
Yeah.
we're figuring it out.
You had a cute baby.
Very cute, baby. We're biased, though.
Yeah.
We get lots of compliments.
I feel
but
kind of biased too. It isn't not my baby, but I'm like, that's a cute baby. Yeah.
She's getting chunky right now.
Yeah. Hey, I get it. We all go through phases, you know.
You guys can keep talking. Sorry, I'm not getting. It was focusing weird.
Okay. Yeah, your focus is weird.
What am I? I'm the one that has to keep the conversation going.
Yeah,
and
that's what
take
you're
the-
naturally good at.
Yeah, she turns 3 months in a few days.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How I saw somebody post something the other day where it was like motherhood imposter syndrome of like people just feeling like I did not have a baby. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like, no, or like there's a baby growing inside
It's
of
weird.
me.
There's a constant reminder, but at the same time, it doesn't feel real.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, only 3 months in, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you'll be like, Riley will be like 6 and you'll be like, all right, yeah, no, I'm definitely your mom. But right now I feel like that is still like, I don't know. I got plenty of items of clothing on right now that are older than her. So
Yeah, that's I know for me that was definitely a weird part. Like it's still, I still feel like I've got imposter syndrome. But especially within like the first week, like first few days, especially when we first came home, and I think it was when your mom and your sister were over, and you were in the nursery with her, and I think your mom and sister were in there too. And I was out in the living room like working on something, and I was there for maybe an hour or two. and just kind of focused. And then Riley started crying at one point, and I'm like, there's a baby in this house. Like that was just
a living human baby.
Yeah.
That you guys made.
Yeah.
By doing it.
It's weird. My the other day
it was weird.
My stomach like grumbled or whatever. Like I could feel it, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like it like took me back to being pregnant when she was in there, and I was like, "Well."
That's a super. I don't know what that'll ever feel like, but that has to be an odd thing.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah. Golly. Yeah, you had a baby. I've been really impressed with you. And I know we've talked about it on the podcast before, but like you had a baby and then you were about to have a baby, actually, I think is how the story goes. You were about to have a baby and you were doing like work.
Well, I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I felt the contractions and it was 4 a.m. and I can't remember if I showered first or did payroll first, but I woke up and I was like, this is not a pain I've felt before. This is something.
We got to get these employees paid though.
But for real, I was like, no one else can do this.
Right.
And if I'm in the hospital, I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And I still had a few days, but it was like, I don't know what the next few days are going to look like.
Right. A trooper though.
So it was like 4 a.m. and I woke up and did payroll and then took a shower and everyone got paid.
There we go.
And then Riley came.
Right.
Yeah.
The payday baby.
That was a weird. I remember you getting up early that morning and like before your alarm, like an hour or two. And I remember like looking and being like, that's weird. She's never up early. But I was like, I don't know really. She seems like she's working. Like she'll wake me up if something's going on. And I finally like get up when my alarm goes off. I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I think I'm having contractions, but I had to get payroll done first. That's a good point.
Yeah. Like I knew it was nothing to panic about because they weren't like spaced. They weren't spaced right. It was just all over the place. So I was like, I don't know.
Right. What a trooper though. Yeah. Well, I gotta get paid. I'm sure everybody appreciated getting paid. That's funny.
I don't think you even took 24 hours off.
Yeah.
Like you were in the hospital and I posted the picture because you ended up going to work like the day that you were having contractions. We called and they said, hey, that might just be like early, I guess maybe Braxton Hicks.
Yeah.
But like, just go about your day. And then like, if it continues to get worse and then it got a little better. So you ended up going to work.
Yeah. They weren't spaced normal, but they hurt. Whenever they came, they hurt.
And they lasted pretty much all day.
Yeah.
So we went to the warehouse that day and then we got home at night and that's when they started getting pretty
really
bad.
Yeah.
So then we went to the hospital and they said, yeah, we'll keep you here until you have this baby.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you were doing work pretty much that whole day. And I think it was the following day it was before you could even walk again because of the epidural. And you were sitting on the couch and I had to bring you your laptop and probably your screen too. And you're just going away doing orders.
Like she was sleeping. So I was like, I can't sleep. So I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. I may as well do something productive.
If I was in charge of payroll and I ate a bad burrito, people would not get paid. I'd be like, screw you guys, my tummy hurts. You'll get paid next paycheck. We get most of the paychecks. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so she got 12 hours maternity leave. Company is pretty
First
gracious.
person in company history to get maternity leave.
That's true. More than I've ever gotten.
That's right. Yeah. Did you get any paternity leave?
Is that what it's actually called? Mm-hmm. Paternity?
Yeah, paternity leave.
You worked from home for a bit.
I did. Yeah, I remember it was tough to get a lot done at the hospital with everybody just coming and going, like doctors, nurses, and whatnot. So like trying to get done the bare minimum. I remember there being meeting. I think so. She was born on Wednesday. On a Wednesday, and we have meeting on Friday. So we got to come home, I think Thursday night. And you guys have a meeting in the morning and me trying to like hold Riley because she was crying all night and like plan meeting. And like, I remember falling asleep on the floor with my phone with the meeting note open. And I had texted you guys like, hey, like I don't have meeting notes done because it was going to be just individual meetings. So managers, I had to send the note to the managers for you guys to have like, kind of general stuff, like general topics that needed to be covered. And I was like, I don't have it done, but I will have it to you before 8 a.m. when meeting starts. And I think I got it to you guys at like 7.
Yeah. We don't read those anyway. So
Well, now you tell me.
I'm just kidding. We go through them. There's important stuff on there sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes.
We're just looking for Alyssa's out of stock list. That's the big one.
Some people are. Maybe just you.
Hey, that is a tool. Okay, like people don't realize. Like, man, because you got to give somebody like a proper expectation of when something's going to come back, and it's like this has been on the out of stock list for 3 months. Like maybe soon, but I doubt.
Yeah. So you were actually a decently requested guest that we've had. I had at least a couple of people ask about you being a guest on the podcast. They thought you would provide some cool insight to maybe some early on stories.
They probably don't realize I don't talk much.
That's okay. We'll get things going. Yeah, I thought that'd be kind of cool to kind of maybe dive into some stories. I mentioned that we used to be roommates. We all lived in the same house together for 5 years,
5 or 6.
Something, yeah.
It was a long time.
and you and I were roommates in Springfield. And then once you moved down to Oklahoma City, we were roommates. Yeah, we lived in that house. I'm pretty sure it was at least 5 years, if not 6.
Yeah, it was 5 or 6. It was a long time.
Yeah.
Probably 5.
It was a good house though.
Yeah, because it was 5 there, 2 at my Yukon house, and then 1 here. So yeah, so I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think how long we've been in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is wild.
That is a wild one. Like we've almost been here a decade.
It'll be weird when we've
doesn't
lived
feel like
here
it.
longer than St. Louis or Missouri in general.
Yeah.
You were talking about, like, obviously we hit our high school reunion, 10-year reunion, and that was kind of weird. But the more weird one is when we were 10 years out of college, 10 years out of after Alyssa graduated, not us, but
We still got one more year, right? 2015. So 25.
Yeah, we moved in 2015. Yeah, so next year it'll be a decade for us.
Yeah, that's
and then you're behind that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Dude, for real. Yeah, you guys, it'll be 10 years, dude. Like, I'm saying that out loud, but now that I'm actually processing it, I kind of want to throw up. That's such a long time. 10 years, dude, that does not feel like 10 years. What the shit? That's crazy.
I'm trying to think, when Riley's 10 years old, she'll still seem pretty young, you know? That makes me feel better.
Yeah, until you wake up tomorrow and Riley's 10 and you're like,
That's true.
dude, that's crazy. That is a very surreal thing of like the difference between us moving, like the time we've been here. What would that be in reverse from like when we left? So like 2015. So 9 years prior to that,
6th grade.
Yeah, 2006. I would have been I was
7th grade.
Jeez.
You would have been like 8th grade.
Yeah,
right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
my parents were just moving to St. Charles because I grew up in Florissant and then moved to St. Charles.
Yeah.
For middle school and high school.
Yeah. Let that sink in. That's how long we've been here.
That's the difference between that and graduating and graduating college, right?
Moving here.
Or moving
essentially.
here, yeah. Essentially, yeah. Gosh. Yeah, I can't process that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like if you were just double the time, that's how long ago. It's like, oof. Well, welcome to the fun podcast.
We're depressing ourselves.
We feel old as shit. That was a weird one for me. Like I feel personally like in a place where like getting married doesn't feel weird. Like Laurel and I having kids before too long, like doesn't feel weird. You know, I'm 32, so it's like I'm far from like a baby, but I'm just a teenager. Still just a teenager. But it's weird realizing that that's not weird. You know what I mean? Like you guys obviously just had a baby. Tristan and Sadie just had their baby. Like people are having babies and been married for a while. And it's like, it's a weird thing that it's like, oh, this feels very normal though. Like this doesn't feel like strange, but it is weird when I see people that I like went to college or high school with, where it's like the ones that weird me out are the ones who have like, and no offense to anybody, but it's like the ones who have like 3 or 4 kids. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You are a teenage bride. What are you doing?
I was saying the other day, so our 10 years together is in a few months, and I was like, we could, if we lived a certain way, we could have like a 9-year-old.
Oh yeah.
Like, which is
Easily.
just crazy to think about.
Yeah. Well, like that's the thing, especially, and I say all this, that's less weird here than it is where we're from, which I think is definitely like a factor to it. But it's like, I can't tell you how many people I know that were like, they got married 3 days after they turned 21. And I'm like, that's crazy to me. But anyway,
it is weird hearing people that got married before 21, like not legally allowed to drink at your own wedding is a weird concept to me.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. But so I think like we have like a bit of a skewed thing. But yeah, that just feels weird. You have a 9-year-old is like walking, talking, playing sports, like looking at middle school soon.
Dude, there was a kid that went to my high school that got right out of high school, got married and started having kids, like very intentionally.
Sure.
I think that was like big goal is, have a big family. And yeah, so he has to have, he's got kids potentially starting high school soon.
Oh yeah.
Which
that's wild.
Yeah. Dude, my nephew is going to be driving soon.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a weird one. My nephew's going to be driving soon, like real soon, I think.
I hope I'm not calling him out too much, but I still think it's really funny that Derek Winburn's a grandpa. Is he a grandpa now?
Oh, he might be a great grandpa by this point. Oh, great grandpa Derek,
who is roughly our age.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I get it's just it's so interesting, and I'm curious. I guess how do you guys feel about it? But like at the ages that you're at now, like just having Riley, like I feel like I imagine you guys feel like much more equipped to like have a child. I'm sure there's still like this is petrifying, but like it's also one of those things where I don't know if I woke up with a baby on the porch tomorrow. If somebody dropped one off, I'd be like, I could
fire station style.
I could raise this baby. You know what I mean? Like if you guys were like, look, we like you, Riley, but we're just not sure. We're going to give you to Thomas for a while. I'd be like, I could do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If we did this 5 or 10 years ago, I don't.
I feel like we could have figured it out, but we wouldn't have done I feel like there would have been we could have done a lot of things better.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that'll be the nice thing. And that's why I don't know. I guess for where we're at, we're definitely like elderly. Your elderly parents for where we're at. You guys are
for Oklahoma.
Yeah. For sure. You guys are like old parents to start. But yeah, it is really weird because I think, and maybe this is just from my own personal biases, I guess, thinking about it, and I guess where I'm from or we're from. But like the idea of having, I just don't feel like I would be equipped like mentally to have the capacity to have a kid when I'm like 22 years old.
Yeah, I feel like
it wasn't like a butthole, but like give me a child. Like I'm sure you probably grow up real fast. Yeah. Hopefully, right? Like fingers crossed.
It's definitely not a challenge that I would be wanting to take on at that age.
No, that's crazy.
We were still, I'm thinking 22. I think it was 23 when we moved here. So we would have still been in Springfield when I was 22.
Yeah, because I was
probably
25 when we moved here.
Our last year in Springfield.
I think a lot of, for us, waiting until this age was a lot of making sure the business was up and off the ground and not just sustaining itself, but growing without having to put in, either of us having to put in crazy hours or work really late a lot of nights.
Well, just having the freedom to be able to do work from home when you need to, or you're still just as productive and probably more productive than you've ever been, but it is in a different capacity than it is just like covering hours in the store. Like if you were trying to cover 60 hours in the store right now, like no dice, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be tough. I know the evenings are honestly I think that's kind of been the biggest thing. I know you obviously spend more time with Riley during the day than I do. Obviously like today I took transfers around to different stores, but still able to try and get home around 6 o'clock because I think Riley's easier easier in the morning than she is in the evening typically. Yeah.
She starts to get a little fussy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think I do too.
Yeah.
I get sleepy. I haven't had enough. Haven't had my milk. Ready for bed.
Yeah, you're getting sleepy, but you don't want to go to sleep, so you get cranky. Yeah, I don't know what you want to do.
I haven't been burped.
Yeah. But has Laura learned the technique yet?
Oh yeah, she's quite the burper. She throws me over her shoulder and she pats my bum until I get that burp out.
But yeah, just getting home on, like being able to get home on time, I think is a big thing. Just being able to have that possibility where like there's still like over the last couple of years, I think we've had more of that the possibility to do that, but having a reason to make sure, hey, you got to wrap up whatever you're working on and make sure you get home. Sure. I think is definitely a big thing.
It's nice having that like little added motivation.
Yeah.
But also it's like, man, like you guys have an opportunity to be very solid, like work parent balance though, like with the careers that we've, set ourselves on. Like I think having the opportunity to take Riley to work and, have the opportunity to not like, not saying that you can't rely on people, but like not having to rely on other people all the time. I think that's a really cool thing. That's like what people dream for. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I get to take my child to work with me and I get to, and I'm sure it comes with its own like fair share of times that cause struggles or whatever, but that's a pretty cool thing too. So I'm pretty pumped for you guys, just the ability to be able to do that, get your work done, be productive, all that kind of stuff, but still get to like spend as much time with her as you do right now is super cool. I
think, Alyssa might have a different perspective, but I've really enjoyed knowing that like that's kind of the long-term solution is just bringing her to work with us.
Yeah, right.
But what's your take on that?
I like it, but it definitely has its challenges because she needs to be occupied a lot. And the older she's getting, the more she needs to be occupied and entertained. So it's getting a little tougher.
She's not like Stanley and Stella where you just give her a bone and...
No, unfortunately.
Dang it.
Yeah.
But then
Have you tried?
But then I also don't want to one of our reps congratulated me and she was like, just like knew I was working and like doing kind of both things. And she's like, make sure you enjoy her.
Yeah.
And that really like made me think about it. So I really just want to make sure I'm not.
Good advice.
Yeah. No, I think so too. It's like, people always talk, and this probably is getting heavier than we mean to, but it's like people always like look back and like, wish they were back in the place that you guys are now. You know what I mean? Like she'll be older and you'll be like, I wish we were back at the warehouse, just, watching and walking around with her on your, your little kangaroo pouch and
that's
getting work done.
We never know what to call it.
Yeah. It's not a backpack. It's not a carrier.
Yeah. Front pack.
Kangaroo pouch.
Little kangaroo pouch. That's right.
No, Sean Vasquez had similar advice, who's been on the podcast before of, you'll start to look forward to the next stages of, them being able to like talk or walk or, whatever it might be. But when you get to those stages, they're enjoyable, but you will miss the previous stage quite a bit. So don't get too in a hurry.
Yeah. Don't grow her up too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's anything though. I think, right? Like, I think you can make similar comparisons with the company too. Like we always talk about like how great everything is and we love it and everything's awesome. But we also reminisce about times like just sitting in the back of the store working, just taking customers and whatever. It's like, this is a simpler time for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if I'd go back permanently, but there are like aspects to it that are easy to romanticize of like enjoying those kind of like moments together.
It makes it a little easier to enjoy the moment that you're in. And I know I've brought this up before, but that kind of helped me be a little bit more at ease, especially early on when, it was crazy hours, crazy work and next to nothing pay, if not legitimately nothing pay, is hearing about extremely successful people getting together and talking about the struggle years that they had and reminiscing. And it's like, that'll be fun to do one day when we have made it and reminisce on those struggling years. Which helped me enjoy the moment in those times. And even where we sit right now, where, we are quite a bit more successful than we were in the past. We still have a lot of room for growth, a lot of growth that we want to see.
Sure.
So it makes it a little bit more enjoyable in these moments.
I think we'll always just reminisce back to eras. We'll quote Taylor Swift. Said Swift kind of weird there, but like different eras that we go through, right? Where it's like there will be, when it was all of us just like grinding in the back of the store, and then it's like Alyssa working in the back of Quail for years, and then it's, we'll reminisce about the first warehouse.
That is already starting to get weird to think about you working in the back of Quail on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. I don't even have a desk there or anything anymore.
Yeah. You talked about, and I'll try and put this in the best way possible, but you talked about how, where it is more work to have Riley with us and to, keep her occupied or take care of her and do, keep up current, like consistently throughout the day. It's made me realize how nice a daycare would be. Which I'm not at the warehouse every single day with you, but typically, what is it? I think 3 days a week with you and try and help out as much as possible. And again, I admit that you do more than I do typically. But you mentioned that, it is more work, but knowing that you're the one that's looking out for her and help and being the one to raise her and help her learn and develop, is really important. And it made me realize how much I was up to put in more work to do that as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have some grandparents in town. But it's nice we have Anna and Corey to come and kind of.
They're a huge help.
Yeah.
Derek Winbird's like, I'll be your grandpa. I'm on my way.
we love you, Derek, if you're listening. But Anna and Corey are a huge help, especially Anna working the job that she does. She can even come to the warehouse some days if we need some help. Nice. Kaylin's actually been a decent amount of help as well. She comes in early some days to her shifts, and we'll just come hang out at the warehouse and check and see if we need help with Riley. Mm-hmm. And
you need somebody to hold that baby,
and we almost always do.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
A lot of times I literally just need like an hour, and I can knock out a bunch of work. But if I have Riley, it takes 6 hours to do that work.
I've never been so efficient with my time. Like when you have like an entire day where it's like you wake up on time or even wake up early, help take care, like help get Riley whatever she needs, fed, changed, whatever. Then, you go on through your morning routine to get out of the house, but then you get pushed back because of Riley. And then you finally get to work and you're like, all right, I'm gonna start my work, but then Riley needs something. And then you just like constantly, and then like you're trying to like answer like and do just tiny little stuff, answer questions, tiny little stuff just to get by throughout the day. And then all of a sudden it's like 4 p.m. and you're like, I haven't done a single thing. And then someone's like, I can hold Riley for an hour. That hour I have never been so efficient in my life. Like, cause you're like legitimately, you've spent the last like 10 hours, like anticipating getting work done, but you haven't done anything. And you're like, you can do an entire day's worth of work in an hour sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
Makes me realize I was working really slow before.
Yeah. We noticed. It's but kind of like what you were saying before, though. I think you guys have, and I say this as like not obviously somebody with a baby, but I think like you're saying, like the importance of, and no shame on anybody else because you got to do what you got to do, but like being able to do that, like you're not missing moments, and I think that's super cool.
It's a cool opportunity for us. Like we're very lucky to be in that position.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are like, I think it's setting a good example too for like, especially the younger people on staff of like, not saying everybody will have that kind of opportunity, but it's one of those things where it's like we can strive for people to be able to have those kind of like luxuries and freedoms to like raise their own kids. You know what I mean? I think that you guys having probably a slightly different perspective now, I think like having goals associated with things like that are super cool for companies just in general of like, hey, like having people who can do certain things from home or whatever, or just like have the luxury of like having, you see these big companies that, not saying we'd ever do this, but it'd be cool, I guess, if it made sense. But you see these big companies that put in like daycares and things where you can like bring your kid to work, but also still spend time with them and like all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool.
It's we are kind of setting a little bit of precedence here. We're figuring things out as we go, but
it's probably the next one to have a baby. I'm like, yeah, you were gonna have.
Yeah, we have our meeting at the warehouse on Fridays, and then we have Riley's little play areas. Yeah, set up. So
we gotta get you moved to the back end so you can have that.
I gotta get married and have a baby and all that kind of stuff too.
That's true. We got a little time. We got a little time. Yeah,
we got some time. Yeah, but yeah, no, I think that is. I think it's a cool thing though, because it's kind of. I'm sure you guys have probably dealt with it, especially when it comes compared to the like. I don't know the right way to put this. I think you guys will understand. But I imagine there has been a bit of a perspective shift when it comes towards not just the company. I know you made a post kind of about this the other day where the company used to be just like, personal success and success for you guys and success for people on our team. Well, it's now this provides a life for my daughter. You know what I mean? And that's a whole different like motivation and like level of like discipline that comes along with that.
There was that reminds me of a post that again Sean Vasquez made at one point, who's been honestly a big role model for me because I've gotten to watch him raise his daughter for a handful of years now, and now has another child, a son as well. But he made a post one time, and he kind of talked to me about it a little bit. But apparently there was. Because he owns Rice and Grinds and is flavored granulated rice cereal, and it was the first person to do that, and since then there have been some copycats.
Those bastards.
Yeah, but apparently, I don't know if he ever figured out who, but apparently somebody had contacted his manufacturer and I think his rice supplier as well to get to ask questions and try and get information on making their own. The way he looked at it is someone's trying to steal food out of my daughter's mouth, and he was mad.
Dang. So he never found out that was Alfonso? Damn.
Can't be enjoying him.
I know. That's why we never got to see the culmination of Fonzie Rice. Rice and Fonz.
Dude, I'm pretty sure he put on like full tactical gear and had an AR and made a video about like
night vision goggles.
Yeah, like legitimately just like a PSA, like, hey, like if you're gonna try and copy me, like you're gonna have to go through me. Kind of.
Fuck. Okay. That's crazy. So yeah. So if any of you guys want to make Tribab or whatever, good luck. No,
you're gonna have to go through us.
You're gonna have to go through us. Honestly, Kaylin would probably be the most vicious. Be like, Kaylin, someone's trying to steal food out of Riley's mouth.
She'd be like, I'll eat your face. We will sit Kaylin on you.
Well,
I don't want to see that side of Kaylin.
I've seen it plenty. You don't want to do. Yeah. She's my going nickname for her recently has been the Demogorgon. I'm not being a Demogorgon. You're kind of being a Demogorgon. Yeah. But I imagine that has caused, like, in more situations than one, just like a shift in perspective of just like potentially future aspirations when it comes not just to the company, but what things look like. I imagine that it's shifted mine, you know what I mean? Which I think is like a cool byproduct of it. But I think that's like everybody on staff, feels a bit a part of Riley's life, the 3 whole months that she's been around. But I think like everybody does have kind of like a level of like, okay, hey, this isn't just, we've always had that like team mentality that this isn't just for me. This is for everybody. I do my work, not just for me, but for my brothers and sisters that I work with.
Yeah.
But it's like, now it's like the brothers and sisters and our baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we
got
a
different level.
Right. And I think as the family of, Triad employees and their families grow, I think that's the other thing is it's like, if Christian and Peyton have a baby, you know, in the next couple of years or whatever, you know, you start looking at it. It's like, hey, man, like, I'm a whole lot more responsible than just for myself.
Yeah.
Like this company, all of these things this is a whole lot more than just my family, my baby, my wife. This is like now a whole bunch of people's families and kids and children being, you know.
I feel like I'll be a whole lot more nervous when somebody else has a baby. Like for me, I feel like I've still got an idea, like, especially being the one kind of in charge of like a lot of our big spending and like and our budget overall and kind of where money's getting moved around. Like, you know, we can get pretty risky sometimes and put some money into some things.
Sure, like if this goes belly up, then what's Preston Jr. gonna do?
Right. But like, yeah, I guess, I don't know, for some reason, because like I feel like we've done that for the last I mean probably six years now, because Vincent really handled the budget prior to post Chad and Vincent. But taking over myself, like I've gotten a better feel for like how to take those risks, how to mitigate, how to like hedge against those bets. But yeah, it's I guess I'm more comfortable now with it being our child. But if it's somebody else's child, I feel like I'll be a little bit more conservative for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it becomes like a whole thing where like, you know, people who own and run big businesses talk about it sometimes of like they feel responsible for like the employees' families and people that they like, you know, that this business provides for. And I imagine that being a lot of pressure. You should probably think about that all the time.
Dude, we've been doing some adult making some adult decisions. I was thinking the other day, this was actually when Alyssa was still pregnant. I was
the other day.
The other day.
It's another day, right?
Technically, yes.
But I think was driving to Yukon, and I was on the highway, and it occurred to me that if I got in a car wreck and passed away, the company would be kind of fucked. In the sense,
we could do it.
We get it.
All right. I didn't mean it that way. I meant it more in the sense that, like, there's like,
what are the transfers not going to get delivered?
Only because he wrecked the vehicle. So
Well, like, all right. So there's like things on the back end that would be like, it would be tough to like move around. And it's like, it's shit in like that. Like I have like Excel sheets or like notes.
We're just messing with you.
I know. But like, and if it like, because you guys are here, like I have a lot more trust or a lot more faith that you guys would figure things out. It would be very fucking stressful for both of you to try and decipher all my notes and Excel sheets. So that's really kind of would be the main thing there. But I was like,
your password would be easy though. We'd have no problem getting through into your documents.
What number goes after the word? That's the question.
It's like sandwich 7. He does love sandwiches. It's not really sandwich, by the way, guys. So don't try hacking our system.
But I ended up getting life insurance, and she ended up getting life insurance as well for the business to cover like a period of time of like, hey, like if our sales dip because we can't figure out some process that Kevin was doing that he knew in his head, but nobody else fucking knew in the world. Like you've at least got a financial buffer to kind of cover some of those and rebound a little bit. So.
No, that's interesting. But that's the perspective I'm talking about. It's like, you know, you start looking at things differently, just in the sense of, okay, like how does whatever, like figure this out? Because for you guys, you're not looking at life insurance, you know, obviously, God forbid something ever were to happen, but you're not looking at life insurance as like the thing to support, you know, whoever and Riley forever. It's like, no, how does this get the business through the, you know, the hump that it's going to have to get through for that to be the thing that like continues to live on to support and, you know, be a thing for everybody. Yeah.
I think for a while it was like, especially being a little bit more of a startup, was like everybody's just grinding away, seeing how this turns out. But like no one's like, we know like we're still in early stages and still just kind of getting it up off the ground. So if it doesn't make it, like we're all like at least a little mentally prepared for that and can find other jobs, find other income, this and that. But yeah, if the business had to take a big hit because I wasn't around at some point, what's that mean for Riley's life is a big reason why we did it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It makes sense. It's cool. It's cool, obviously not your death, but
I took I did take a life insurance policy out on you as well. But yeah, so if Thomas goes missing anytime soon.
You know what's crazy is that I'm pretty sure you can do that. I've listened to a couple of stories. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's the first thing detectives check though. Yeah. I don't know. Probably not. Yeah, that's a super interesting thing. Yeah, you can just like take life insurance out on somebody else. You can take like all sorts of insurance out on anything you want. Like I am going to take like, homeowners insurance out on your house. Like hope it doesn't burn down. Hope. This is crazy.
Give a quick call to Arson Daily, huh?
Yeah. Classic. Arson Daily. Is that a newspaper or is that a guy that burns down houses? He just goes by arson. That wouldn't be a very good crime, but it sounds cool.
It's a good name.
Yeah, it would be good. It sounds like a bad guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's a Bob's Burgers reference.
There you go. Close enough. That's funny. Yeah. What Alyssa, what all do you do exactly? Start to finish. Tell us everything.
I don't know. People always ask me that. Somehow I feel like I'm always doing something, but I really don't know. A lot of little stuff.
I think that is what's funny is I feel like that has become a big part of my job too, is just picking up the random and like it's tough sometimes, and your thing's about to come off. But it's tough sometimes because it is difficult to like find all the things that just randomly need to be done when you're one of the few people who actually understands how it works. You know what I mean? And so that was like could you keep it down?
I'm sorry.
But it's like I remember sitting at work the other day, and I was like on the phone with ADT, like fixing the ADT thing, and I'm like, this is just like one of those jobs that it's like there's not a ton of us on staff that would be able to do it, but it's like we just gotta like there's plenty of those things that just need to be like looked at. For you, I feel like it's like looked at, corrected, adjusted, and for me, it's like what's broken. Like how do I fix it? Like I literally like today like went to Lowe's and had to buy epoxy to like fix our like our card holder for all the like different business cards that we hold, and it's like that's needed to be fixed for a while. And I was like, I've got time, I'm early today, and I'm like went and got a little like tube thing of epoxy, and it's like there's so many things, whether it's the toilet or the in-body or the ADT, or it's just like there's just always something, or the air conditioner. Knock on wood on that one.
Won't need it right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's like those things, and it's just like there's always something. And the more stores and the more people we have, like the more of that stuff that just exists. And you're just like, all right, then the more things that we implement. But it's fun. It's kind of part of it. But it is. I was telling Kevin the other day where I was like, I finally am at a point where my like random tasks, like I feel like I need an office day where it's just like, I'm having to tell people on staff, like, hey, I got to be on the phone with ADT. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And it's like, or I've got to be on the phone with so-and-so and I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just like, the main stuff I do is like payroll and financials, submit orders to different vendors, receive the orders.
I'd say inventory is probably a big portion of your time.
Yeah.
And was definitely one of the main things we kind of brought you on board with. And one thing that, kind of a cool story, and I've told at least a little bit of this before, but when we first brought her on, she started as just kind of helping out on the side. I think it was you would come around and kind of help out in the evenings or in the weekends because you had a different job. You worked in social work, that's what your degree's in, and then you worked at the Edmond Animal Shelter as a dog catcher for a little bit. You obviously did more than that, but I feel like that's the funny title.
Yeah. They don't like that term.
They don't.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I imagine not. It's not a good.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. But yeah, you were just kind of helping out like when you weren't at your other job. And there was one point in time where I think I was just overwhelmed, and you ended up helping with placing orders, and I kind of walked you through it, and you did it like flawlessly. So then we worked out this deal. I think we bought you a new laptop.
2 kisses and a laptop. That's all it took.
A new laptop and a lifetime membership was your payment for helping out and doing, I think just placing orders, right? But we still received them.
I don't remember.
So that's how I remember it. I could be off on the details. And then I think
probably received them, but you guys probably checked them in on the paper.
Yeah. Sorry, we checked them in. You received them. You handled. You handled everything on the back end, like on the computer. But we handle that actual products and like checking to make sure we actually got things. And I think there was one weekend where you helped actually like receive orders and like were more hands on. And I can't remember if it was also the time that I gave you like 2 days worth of my to-do list, because you were just hanging out like on a Saturday while I was on shift. And I was just like, hey, like, this is what my to-do list is. Whatever you can get done. But if you don't know how to do anything, don't worry about it. Just any help is greatly appreciated. And I think it was an hour later, you're like, I'm done. I'm like, okay, like you got done what you could figure out. And you're like, no, I did all of it. Oh, which was, I think that was a sign to me of like how beneficial it would be to bring you on board, and how much more we could accomplish, how much we could, because it was Alfonso, Trace, and I that were, and I think Zach Younker at the time. So it was 4 guys in their early 20s that were all trying to handle like inventory and like orders and all that. And we were so slow at it. And I was like, if we had Alyssa here, it would get done so much faster, and it would free up our time to be able to like put more with customers and be able to like do sample events and work on things to actually grow the business. So, and I think you anticipated me asking you as well. I think we both kind of, if I remember right, we both kind of arrived at this it makes sense for you to work at Triad. Like we could really use you, and you would be a big asset if we brought you on board. So, and that was, what was it? April of 2019 that we brought you on?
I was thinking 18, but maybe 19.
It wasn't 18. 18 was my first year without Chad and Vincent.
But when was COVID?
COVID was 2020.
Oh, then. Oh, it was like the end of 2019 going in 2020.
No, early 2020 was COVID. So that is crazy to think that you were on for only about a year when we started going into COVID.
Yeah, I feel like it was a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Triad will do that to you. We always post the meme with each other of it's Saddam Hussein, but he looks terrible, like he's been living in a bunker for 6 years. And then it's like we always we edited it to say like it's not that bad being a Triad manager. It's like Michael, age 22. He looks terrible.
But yeah, it's so inventory has gotten increasingly more difficult because even just the Quail Springs store has gotten increasingly busier. So you're dealing with more inventory there, and opened the 2 other stores and now the warehouse. So distribution. So inventory has gotten quite a bit more difficult. But you're kind of a go-to person, like, and it's one thing that I think I sometimes take for granted is just having someone else around, because I think you two are people that I lean on quite a bit. I lean on pretty much everybody at the company, at least a little bit. Obviously, some people have more experience than others, but you two are people that hey, we're got to make a decision on this. I just want, like, even if I like kind of have an idea of what we want to do, it's always good to get opinions from you guys, because neither of you guys are afraid to tell me I'm an idiot.
That's my favorite thing to do.
But yeah, you, I feel very, very confident with a lot of what you guys, like your decisions on, or your take or your opinion on a lot of things. So it's nice having you around for a ton of things. So I think, yeah, you probably have your hand in a lot more things than people might realize. Still not everything. Nobody does. Like at this point, like Thomas and I were just talking earlier, that even myself, I'm not involved in everything. It's probably less than 50% now.
There's plenty of like Alyssa and Thomas, like, hey, we're doing this. What do you think about this? And we're like, cool, let's go for it.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
But yeah, you've learned how to use Photoshop and Illustrator. You've helped design shirts. You handle, when we open up a new store, you order literally everything we need, all the way down to the flooring.
You're a rock star at getting in products that nobody else has.
Yeah.
That is the thing that like we get complimented on so much, like from customers, is like, you guys have everything. I've never even seen this in store. And I'm like, yeah, that's because Alyssa had to make a fake ID and then use it to go into this Turkish supplement store. She flew halfway across the country to find this so that we could carry it.
Yeah, you are very, what's the word for it? Crafty, maybe? You find a way.
She does. She break a couple kneecaps, but she finds a way.
Gosh, what else are you involved with? You do a lot of our tax stuff. Again, you keep our books. That's definitely a big thing. You learned how to be a bookkeeper.
We struggled with that for a long time.
We got it pretty well figured out. We got some pretty clean books now. So
I try to keep them pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Well, they look good, so hopefully they're good and accurate.
We haven't gotten audited yet, so
that's a good sign.
I think it is interesting. You know, it's funny, kind of going back to what you said a little bit ago, because I think we're all kind of, the three of us, kind of in our own ways, kind of have like, there's benefits to this, and also like times that we've had to accept it. But it is like, especially with you two, is like we're all very like stuck with each other, like no matter what. So it does kind of allow the freedom to be like, I'm going to tell you what I think and you're going to tell me what you think, because I know that we ain't breaking up over this. So it's like we're going to just like, you're going to be mad when I tell you this, and I'm going to let you be mad and I get it. And it's like, and vice versa. And it's just like, I think there is a level to having that like candidness with each other. And 100%. I think that comes from all three of us individually and as a group have like always had the best intentions for each other, like whether it came to the business or just life or whatever, where it's like, I think that has made it easy to like trust that I know when I ask Alyssa's opinion, she's going to tell me what she truly feels. Same for you and vice versa and whatever. Because it's like, you know, we have the understanding that like, I care more about you than I care about your feelings. And I think that's a really unique perspective that it takes a long time and a lot of trust to like get to, where it's like, I care more about you, Kevin, than I care about your feelings, which is like, it's a very unique thing that you don't have like, I don't have with a lot of people, like less than I can name on a single hand. And it's like, but I think the fact that has translated in times in good ways and in times I'm sure frustrating ways in business, of being able to like help grow this company. Cause it's like, hey, you know, Thomas, I think you're wrong, even if it's going to hurt your feelings. You know what I mean? And I think that's like an important thing to be able to do that.
Yeah. No, it's I feel very confident, with both of you guys too. And like you said, like being able to deliver information, like not fun information, but also when you're getting not fun information, like not having to feel like you're always like bottling up your emotions.
Oh, sure.
Because of it, is like, hey, it's like I'm gonna be a little mad at this, but like we'll be all good at the end of it. Yeah. So yeah.
Alyssa, I'm sure you deal with this sometimes too, but I love my favorite times, and I always laugh, like joke with Kevin about him, but is when I know I'm going to tell him something that's going to make him mad, and I'm going to let him be mad for a little bit, and then he's going to calm down and he's going to tell me that I'm right.
I'm not doing that anymore.
And it's like, I'm going to tell you this, and I know you're not going to like it, but we got to do something here. But it is kind of like part of that, like, I don't know. I know you well enough. You know me well enough that it's like, I know, like, I understand, you know, it's, and a lot of times that has come from just like changing processes that we've had in the past or whatever. And it's like, those aren't always fun and they don't always work, even the new ones. But it's like being able to like candidly say, I was I was listening to a podcast the other day with Lex Friedman and Jeff Bezos, and they were kind of talking. And one of the things that Jeff Bezos says, however you feel about him, but he was like, one of the big things that he talked about was when he's in meetings with people, he tries his hardest to be the last person to give an opinion because he wants everybody else to be able to speak candidly.
Yeah.
Or like he wants everybody else to not feel like they have to go with what the owner of the company is having to say.
I'm asking your opinions because I want your genuine opinion. I don't want you to be yes men.
Right. And that's the thing is like having the ability to like say whether you're right or wrong or whatever, or if there's flaws in it, but just the like ability to feel comfortable to do that. And I think that is one nice thing that we definitely have of it's like you understand when I'm trying to poke holes in something to make sure that it's bulletproof, not because I'm trying to be a jerk to you. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we need to find flaws because we don't want to deal with problems in the future.
Yeah. I feel like that's one thing I learned pretty early of like, even the way you ask for somebody else's opinion, the way you ask it can sometimes invoke a specific answer. Especially when you ask somebody that is like you're employing, like, and you say, hey, what's your opinion on this? If you ask it a certain way, a lot of times their mind goes to, okay, what's the right answer? It's like, no, the right answer is your genuine opinion. So you have to make sure that you ask it in a way that they can't tell what way you're leaning.
Yeah. There's even times like we'll be together and you'll be like, hey, I'm going to ask this in the group. Don't reply because I don't want them.
I know your opinion already. I want their opinion.
Yeah. No, for sure. He typically goes, I know you'll sway this opinion. Let them let them tell them what they think before you infect them.
But yeah, no, that's it can be a very, very delicate thing. That's for sure. So
it definitely is, but it's like, but what a benefit though. Like knowing that like, I can tell you to your face, you can tell me to my face. If I like through all of this, like I might not be happy about it and I might be upset and I might show that frustration. Like this is not, no repercussions, but it's one of those things that like, I even talk about it with Laurel a lot, like within our relationship, like our relationship is bigger than any single fight. Yeah. So if I have to tell you something, if I have to call her out or she has to call me out, I know that it's not going to cost us our relationship. And so because of that allows us to actually speak freely to each other in a way that we need to
figure it out
because we're not on the edge of the cliff, right? Like we're miles from the cliff. Like we have no worry about that's not even on the table. Like that's not even, you know what I mean? Like if, and obviously this isn't us, but it's like, if you're at a different company and if you felt like telling the guy who owned the company that, we needed to change a process or whatever, or something needed to change from something that had been done for a long time that, maybe they create whatever. And it's like, you felt like you were going to lose your job by doing it. Like, of course you keep your mouth shut. And then it's like, where does innovation or improvement or anything come from after that?
No, you talk about how few people that you have that relationship with and how difficult it can be to get to that spot, which is definitely something to not be understated of like, don't just start speaking your mind with everybody. Yeah. because because I feel like every relationship that you have starts on the edge of the cliff and you work your way to get against it. Because like if you're meeting someone for the first time and they just start telling you things they think that you're doing wrong. Yeah. Probably not a great first impression.
Yeah, it's just from 10 years of having each other's backs to like equal this now.
But like legitimately, and I'll even admit, I think that was one thing that going into business with Chad and Vincent initially is I felt like we had, because it's like, hey guys, like we have taken out a loan. We are officially on this, on this LLC together. We moved states. We live together. Like we are in it. So, and obviously we all want to make it successful. So I felt that I had the freedom to be pretty candid. And I think there were definitely some times where I took that too far of trying to get to ourselves down the right path and letting and I think I let that kind of cloud my judgment and my opinions of not being able to see their opinions clearly or realize that the situation is, hey, it's if two people are outvoting one, man, like all I can do is speak my opinion.
Sure.
Like, so.
Sure.
It's definitely on the other end. It's always kind of, sometimes it's even still tough. Like you'll talk to the employee and it all makes sense, but you'll talk to the employees one way and then you'll come home and talk to me maybe about the same issue or something. And it's a whole different conversation. It's more serious. And it's like, man, you're kind of like being not necessarily a jerk, but it's just like a harder like conversation.
Sure.
It
just more intense.
Yeah.
Like, it's more and I just saw talking to you.
Yeah. And I saw you talking to them like, it was no big deal. And like, it's definitely can be like hard to see. Like you have to like separate like, well, we have a whole different relationship than.
Right. Yeah. You and I have worked a lot to get far away from the cliff, but that's something that I have to be conscious of as well, just because I spend a lot of my days, trying to keep a cool head and bottling up emotions.
And you don't want them to be mad at you over something that's not really worth it, but still worth mentioning or
right. Yeah. And then I come home and I've got frustrations, and you're kind of the one person that I feel comfortable, letting those emotions show a little bit and just kind of at least venting.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things we talk about, even from like an HR standpoint, is like, it is a very delicate thing to like involve Kevin or it's somebody else, because when you reach that, like as an owner or whatever, or even through and like involve you, where it's like, we were actually even just kind of talking about this earlier, where it's like, you guys, you might deliver something at a 1 and it might be taken at a 10 just because it's coming from your mouth. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so it's like, that is a super tough thing to deal with sometimes, and can be frustrating, to be the person like trying to give something at a 1 and it's being taken at a 10. And you're like, golly. And I how many times have we, countless times, like with manager meeting or whatever, it's like, hey, do I need to deliver this message or do you guys need to deliver this message? Because it's like, the nice thing is like when you realize that something coming in at a 1 can be taken as a 10, it's like, well, what you have to do is just get smart enough to like use it at times that it's appropriate as opposed to times that it's inappropriate. And it's like, we can make scenarios way more intense than they need to be just by involving him, just by having him there, or like even him, somebody thinking that he has the knowledge of the situation can be enough to send somebody over. And so it's a very interesting thing. It can be super delicate, and you have to like learn how to balance that. And so that's what's funny is like, he might have to deliver this at like a 0.5 to the company, and then he talks to you and he can come in at a 7, and you're like, that's a big difference. But it's like, but it is because if he were to come in at a 7, people would be crying and like, buildings would be on fire. Like,
we'd have people leaving.
Yeah, it's great, but that's like how it goes sometimes. It's very interesting.
It is weird. Everyone we work with, I see like at our level, like we're all like the same.
Sure.
But then I think when I was like in my early 20s, like looking at my boss and it's like, I have to take a step back and think like their perspective, because I don't feel like that where we're at.
Our perspective of them is different than potentially their perspective of us.
Yeah. That's that brings me back to something that you kind of were talking about earlier is you guys both being involved with a lot of little things, and your responsibilities, are just kind of all over the place right now. But yeah, I feel like we're getting to a point with the company that there is a little bit more of a separation, because when it was just a small amount of people and we're all at one store, it was easy for everybody to see everything that was going on, or at least be at least somewhat aware. And I feel like we're now getting to the point where, and this is no no judgment on them, because, I think like you kind of brought up, like thinking about like when I worked at a company, worked a job as, late teen, early 20s, when I worked that role, I did what I was told, but it was hard to see big picture. So I think we're finally getting to that point where it's obvious to us because we saw it. We're 3 people that saw it from the ground up. So we know, hey, there's no upper management, there's no corporate, there's no nothing. If we forget to refile for our LLC, that's on us. Mm-hmm. We have to worry about those things. But the employee that we hire tomorrow isn't going to necessarily even be aware of those things need to happen. So, but there's certain things of, hey, we're going to have this person come by. They're going to drop off this document. We need it here to renew this LLC. Obviously that's not a real situation, but like they don't understand why that's important, why we need to know about it right away, why we need to like refile. Like, they don't, it is hard. We're getting to the point where new employees, it's hard for them to have that understanding of everything. So
and we've potentially crossed a threshold where they might not ever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like, I think
it's going to just get worse.
It definitely will. This company's been around for almost 10 years, and it's like there's not going to be, put it this way, there are going to be very few people who have laid the flooring of a new store.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just not a thing that that gets scarcer and scarcer in the sense of like us doing it less.
Maybe we should have that as a responsibility because you'd be a lot more conscious about not scuffing the floor.
For sure. No, but for real, that's such a perfect analogy because like I've had to talk to people about like, hey, flip that table so the plastic is on the floor, not the metal when you're scooting it. You know what I mean? But that is the beauty, and one of the things that I talk about pretty frequently as just like the person, again, who's kind of gone around and opened 2 of our new stores, is when you are there from a store's infancy, you have such a greater respect for the customer base or what the store does. Because when you like, and again, no offense to any of our people or whatever who have like walked into an established store, because there's obviously benefit in that too. But it's like when you are sampling at a gym that you built the relationship for, you got the contact, you talked to the manager, you got them comfortable, you did X, Y, and Z, whatever. And then I always use the example of like, especially when somebody has built a relationship, I was talking to Will about this when he was talking about like a Biff's relationship or whatever that he worked really hard for. I was like, imagine coming back to this store in a year from now and being like, oh yeah, when was the last time you guys sampled at Biff's? And then being like, oh, I don't know, we haven't been in, we just stopped going, I guess. You'd be like, what the shit happened? Do you understand like how hard that was to get? Like, this is not like we earn customers. You don't just get them for free. And so I think there really is something to, while we won't ever be able to create the company ground up again, I think we will always have unique and hopefully clever ways of showing and introducing aspects of that to employees that they can get their own taste of it in their own, from their own perspective. And I think being at a new store, going and opening something new, being a part of what it's like to put the floor down, you have a different level of like what this is.
Yeah, 100%. New stores are definitely, that's a good way of looking at it, is it's an opportunity to give them a taste of what it's like to start from the ground up. So,
it's its own little ecosystem that has to like grow on its own. And it's like when you're a big part of like putting those things in to allow that to happen, it's like you realize, you see the dominoes fall of like, okay, we did this, which did this, which is okay, this all starts making sense. And so otherwise you're like, why do we write thank you cards? Oh, like, because we always have. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like,
it is especially tough. Like going back to, I think Quail Springs has probably got to be one of the tougher stores too, because it's the one that's been around for a while and has grown for 8 years. And, I was at that location for 5 of them, working my ass off, like to build relationships and, bring in new products and help every single person that comes in. So like, but someone starting tomorrow just sees this store just has a lot of customers. Yeah. Like, okay, well, we just get them helped out, check them out.
And it's not their fault. They couldn't wrap their brain around it.
Exactly.
They couldn't wrap their brain around the hundreds literally of conversations that have happened with certain customers or whatever. And I think that's kind of the same thing, like even from your standpoint, where it's like, people don't understand how much work goes into inventory and orders and why it's so important to be as accurate as possible and all these things. Because it's like, it can make your life a nightmare, like really, really fast if people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so that's one that's like more unique, where it's almost like, Preston brings this up a lot, when it comes to people who are like ATs or becoming managers or like looking to be managers in the future, or just have the interest in it, is like, hand them your laptop and make them make a schedule. Because you'll be like, I'm so sorry, so fast, because it is not this thing that just like copy paste, it doesn't work that way. Like, you've got to be constantly evolving.
This will be one that probably triggers Alyssa a little bit, but yeah, a brand new employee. I keep using the employee that starts tomorrow.
Just call him out. It's Ramsey. Just kidding, Ramsey.
But the employee, the new employee that, has a product. Oh, someone called and it needs to get transferred over to Norman. Okay. Like, we write our, write the name on it, put it on the table, and I think we're good. And someone's like, hey, you need to write that on the board. Like, oh yeah, but like they probably don't fully comprehend why that's important. Yep. Now times that by the amount of employees that are in the store, which is like a dozen, and do that once a week. And that is right there, a dozen products that are off in inventory twice, because it's up, like it's too much at one store and not enough at another store.
Well, and it's crazy, like how much that can affect things, just to let everybody know why it's such a big deal. It's like a perfect example was like, we have at Yukon, like, a box of bars that seems like it's missing, probably got transferred somewhere and didn't get written on the board or whatever. Who knows? I could have missed it. That's probably happened too. But the thing that happens is there's 12 bars in a box and the threshold is like 13 bars. And the system thinks that we have 14 bars when in fact we have 2 bars. So we're looking at 2 bars when we're supposed to like never not have a full box readily available. And it's like, well, when that one didn't get written on the board, when those 2 bars sell out, or even worse, like let's say there's 2 bars and it thinks that we have 15 and the threshold's 13. It never even tells her that we're out.
That's many products.
We could in perpetuity never have that product again. We could never have that bar on the shelf at Yukon again because
someone's favorite flavor.
Literally one of the most popular bars. But it's like, just because one box didn't get transferred one time, a store could go 6 months plus until somebody said something, or I figured it out, or whatever, of it just being, or her being at the store and being like, where the hell are your Genesee cookies and cream bars? And they'd be like, oh, we haven't had one in 7 months. And it's like, you should have had them the whole time. What are you talking about?
There's a lot of times, like even right now, and I have yet to correct it, but there's a seasonal flavor of a first form protein, and one store has -1 and one store has 1, but I know that flavor has been out for, for almost a year. Yeah.
You mean one store doesn't actually have -1?
There's lots of negatives in the system.
And again, you just don't realize that like one person forgetting to write that box of bars on the thing could actually cause countless customers to not get something that they regularly buy. And an employee who maybe just doesn't know just might think like, I don't know, maybe they're just out of stock. Stuff goes out of stock all the time. We haven't seen them in a while.
That's a good point. And yeah, that's why it's why she sends the out of stock list as well. Or one reason that she sends the out of stock list when someone comes in and, hey, you don't have the box of my favorite flavor of protein bar. Say, it's easy to say, well, I don't really know what's going on, but yeah, check the out of stock list. Hey, it's not on the out of stock list. Why don't we have this? Let's dig deeper. But yeah, and it's again, not to dog on them, because like I'm thinking back to myself as like an employee, as an early 20-year-old, and I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, right. But that's it. And it's funny because now it's like, and this is where I think from like, continuing to have like some version of like trickling these things through to people is like, well, now having, managers look at stuff like that and changing and doing the damage board and stuff like that. Well, now we all have a better understanding and a grasp of the importance of it, to the point now where it's like somebody the other day, I forget even what it was, but they were and they might have been wrong, but they were saying something like, they were like, oh, you guys have this, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. It's some bar. And they're like, man, Norman hasn't had one of these in forever. And I'm like, and I'm like immediately hopping on my like phone or laptop and I'm like checking Norman's inventory for whatever they said to be like, and I'm like, okay, cool. Norman's inventory says they have 0. So they just weren't able to get more. Because again, if they're like, they don't have it, it's like, that can
why do we have it and they don't have it?
Right, exactly. And it's like, and then it's like, it's funny because I'll just be like, sometimes it's happened before where I'll just like text somebody from who I know is where like Preston or whatever and be like, hey, how many, like hot fudge sundae tasty pastries do you have? Yeah. And he'll be like, oh, we have 0. Okay, cool. Your inventory's right. Thanks. I'm gone. Like,
yeah. That's what you guys talk about, I think is a big part of helping people. What ultimately gets someone prepared to be able to take on more back end responsibilities and ultimately move to the back end is taking on a bunch of random little things and not even necessarily doing anything, but having an understanding of how everything works. Yep. If something isn't right, let's figure out why. Is it our fault? Is it somebody else's fault? Is there anything we can do about it?
Right.
Is it just, yeah, it's tough to it is a very tough thing to fully grasp, especially at a company that even the size that we're at now with what is it, 16 employees?
Hell, I don't know.
I think it's somewhere around there, but
I don't learn their names till they've been here for a year.
You sound like Ryan.
Yeah.
Three locations, warehouse, 16 employees. It's like we've had to put a decent amount of systems in place that have just like, hey, you don't have to understand because a brand new employee doesn't understand. All you have to do is follow this playbook and the system will work. So it's hard to understand why it's there in the first place. But the more you can get to the point where you understand why that playbook is there, why those rules are there, why that system is there, helps you get to the back end, in my opinion. So,
well, it's funny too, because like I remember, and I think it's a good thing that we talk about that or converse about that, because it's like you have to have an appreciation and a respect for their perspective too. Like they don't know everything, you know what I mean? And while that is ultra frustrating sometimes, it's like sometimes you have to just like realize that their scope of knowledge is their scope of knowledge. And I always think back to the hospital, and we had when I was the assistant director, and I had our supervisors, they were dispatchers, and they had a very like specific thing, like take care of the transporters, watch and run the board. And that was it. You know what I mean? Like those were the things they kind of looked at, which is not very dissimilar to us in the sense of like, hey, when you are, a ground level employee, like when you're a consultant, like you are taking customers, taking care of the store, like kind of it. You know what I mean? And even as an AT, like you have like a few more responsibilities or whatever, but it's like take care of customers, take care of the store. You know what I mean? And then it's like you look at somebody like Preston's workload, and it's a whole different bag of worms compared to that, which, it's not to say that the, people under us that are under him, like don't do anything. They definitely do. But it's, I remember we had hired this girl, and she was great. She was one of the best employees that like I've ever had work for me ever. And she was a dispatcher, and her and I always didn't always see eye to eye on things, which is fine. Like I understood. And I always had to like, I think I learned at that point from the hospital of like taking it with a grain of salt, because I have to factor in this person's perspective, and them being like very adamant about, X, Y, and Z. A comparison would be, like how many blender bottles are stocked or something like that, where it's like, I understand why this is important, but I promise you, me fixing the security system for the entire company is a little bit more important. But I can't just say that, because like people aren't going to grasp like the understanding. But it was really funny when I left the hospital, she took over as assistant director for me. And it wasn't long after she had I met up with her and her boyfriend, just like they were just out, and I just like happened to run into him kind of thing. And like, she was like, oh, like we're going to go get drinks, like come with us. And so, we like sat down and talked for a while. And the first thing she said, she was like, I'm so sorry for any time I was ever frustrated with you. I had no idea like what it actually all takes like to do this, and how like oh, you hire dispatchers to run the board so that like you can focus on the other things. And so when we would come in and like worry about something that was our responsibility and complain to you about it, like that would be and I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. Like I totally get it. When your scope of things is like, this is the most important thing, I have to respect that too and understand that like from your perspective, that is the most important thing. It might not be the most important thing to me, but I still have to like, in a certain way, like let you know that like that is important and I appreciate it. Yeah. So it's a very interesting dynamic to like cross over that threshold and even be looking back at times because it's super easy to be like, I don't give a shit about your tiny thing that doesn't actually matter. Like I'm worried about, but it's like, that's not how it works. Like
her telling you that is probably a gift that not a lot of people get in their life.
It is the sweetest nectar I've ever enjoyed in my life. Cause I remember she'd get mad at me and she'd tell me how it is. And I'd be like, yeah, like I get it. Like, and, like being nicely, but I had to be like, isn't that your job? Like, but you know, but again, it's like you gain that perspective and you gain that understanding of like we're saying, like something as small as writing something on the board is huge. Or like writing, like when somebody's waiting for something and asking for something, like not putting down their contact information on the clipboard is like, guys, this is the thing. We have to have this.
Yeah. Well, I think our babysitters might be clocking out soon.
That's fine.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah.
This was really good. I think this is a solid episode.
I think so too. Good content. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I don't know. I'm just sleepy.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. Maybe we should have done this without a 3-month-old at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. Hey,
I thought
you had great things to say. You had really good perspective. And I think you got your beak wet a little bit on doing it. So it's it calms down. It's not so podcasty after a while. It just kind of turns into a conversation.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, first and foremost, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and all the things that you do for this company. And for me personally, like it has been a really awesome time getting to work with you in the capacity that I do over the last like number of years, however many years I've been at this company now. But it has been really cool to watch like your development of continuing. There's a crying baby. But it's like your development and what you bring to the company and how much of an absolute linchpin you are for this and like how we would not be able to do 95.5% of the things that we do without you, kind of like we were talking about before, like having our backs on the back end. You are so good about keeping up with stuff. You are so good about making sure we have the things that we need. One of the biggest things that I like preach to the employees is that the best thing this company does is give us so many opportunities to be cool to the people that we interact with. And a huge part of that is having the supplies that we need in order to do that. And so you have been nothing but a rock star at making sure that our employees at this company are fully equipped to do their job in the way that they need to, whether that's samples, having enough product in the store, having like whatever it is. You do such a good job of like meticulously making sure that every store has what they need. And it's also just cool getting to hang out with you. So I love you and I appreciate you a lot.
Thanks. Love you too.
Yeah.
Well, you said about everything I was going to say.
Gavin loves you too.
I don't like compliments.
Yeah,
so
I know. That's why I'm doing it publicly.
Yeah. I'm very serious when I say this company wouldn't run without you. So
yeah,
I say that a lot, but I don't know how many people realize how serious I am about it. So there's a million little things that need to happen to get this thing to operate, and allow us the time and effort to be able to put into building relationships and helping customers. So having someone make sure that we're set up, like Thomas said, is essential. It makes our job very easy. And it's nobody would be able to do it as efficient as you would. I'd have to hire 2 other people to replace you. So you can't quit.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be impossible to we'd have to hire 10 people to find the amount of care that you have. And I think that's the biggest thing is you care more than anybody. And I think that's a super cool thing. And my personal favorite thing is when you and I get to text back and forth during meeting and make fun of Kevin. So don't worry about it. You're up there, you know. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you listening to the podcast.
I'm gonna be so much more self-conscious in the meeting now.
I'm just kidding. We don't make fun of you. We make fun of everybody else.
Last tidbit. She had a great idea this morning. Ooh. Instead of sending Riley to school, she'll just continue to come to the warehouse with us on a day-to-day basis, learn what she does, and then just take over by the time she's like 13.
Dude, 13? We could buy like 7. kids with their iPads today. Those should be rocking and rolling.
Yeah, they're going to school just to get jobs eventually anyway. Right, so exactly. Just cut out the middleman.
That's the Preston plan. Like Preston always used to say, like, I went to college so that I could one day try to be a formulator for a defined nutrition. And here he is.
What do you need college for, kid?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You start, yeah. And then, and she'll be prepped and groomed. What do you need? What do you need geography class for? Geology or geography? You don't need either of those.
Why would you? Obviously. Yeah. And her, growing up, her only friend that's not her family will be Ryan. So she's going to do great. She's going to be a joy to talk to.
I would like to point out that this was 100% Alyssa's idea, not mine.
Yep. Well,
so we'll see how it turns out. And for those that don't know, I am totally kidding.
Yeah.
And she was totally kidding.
Yeah, except for the Ryan part. But do you know what episode this is?
I think 37.
37. Can you believe we've been doing this like a year and almost a half?
Yeah.
That's crazy. This is the most you've ever listened to one too, isn't it?
Yep.
I do.
No, I heard the Marcus one because you listened to it in the car one day.
I go back through to find clips, and sometimes you're in the car with me as I listen.
Yeah.
So.
The one time I told this the other day, I walked into the apartment the other day. This is like a Kevin the other day. This is probably 3 months ago. No, I'm with you. I'm saying I do the same thing.
Sound a little hypocritical.
No. I do the same thing. I definitely do the same thing. But I walked in and I like hear what sounds like Kevin's voice. And then I hear my voice and I walk in because you can't quite see the TV until you get to like the pillar. Listen to me. But like you get to the pillar in our apartment and I'm like, why the fuck is this filth on the TV? Laurel was watching the podcast and I'm like, you turn this off right now. Like, oh, no. You don't need to hear anything that we had to say. I was like, I speak freely as if you don't listen. So like, I need you to not be watching this.
What episode was it?
I had it turned off. I grabbed the remote and turned it off before I even found out.
She's so supportive though.
Yeah, that's sweet.
No, she was like, no, I want to watch. And I'm like, nope.
She's spying is what she's doing.
I know. No, she's periodically watched every once in a while. And it's like, there's also an aspect of like, as weird as this is, and I think it's probably not weird. You probably understand. Like, I'll listen to him to find like poll things or whatever. I'm not very good at that either, but it's like, they're tough for me to listen. Like listening to a conversation I already had is like hard.
I'm getting tired of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I liked the first episode or two. It was like cool to hear like, okay, this is what we kind of sound like. The novelty of that is worn off. Oh yeah. It's like, yeah. And it's like, it's a weird thing too of like the idea is hearing somebody else talk while I'm listening to the recorded episode, it pops up an idea in my head. I'm like, oh, I maybe should have said this. And then that's what I actually say. And I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Like
the worst is when I think of something I should have said and I didn't say it.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
I'm like, this would have been a really good analogy for that. And no, I didn't say it.
You know what you should do is pause it and then say it out loud.
That's right.
Like
just
you're part of the conversation.
Just like you do.
And then, yeah.
Perfect.
It works.
All right, episode 37. Fell apart there at the end, but just kidding. We appreciate you guys. I appreciate you, seriously. And this is not, I would have paid money to say that you wouldn't have wanted to do this. So the fact that you're doing it, whether he bribed you or whatever, I appreciate it. So
thanks.
She was very willing.
No, I'm sure.
But I appreciate it as well. Thanks, girl.
Welcome.
She volunteered, did you ask?
I volunteered at some point.
Ooh.
I needed a lot of time though.
Yeah.
About a year and a half.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to volunteer now and then come, I'll let you know when I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right, guys. Well, episode 37. Alyssa, appreciate you.
This was a good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody watching. Listen.
Check out my Stanley shirt. This is what I got for Christmas. Bye, guys.